like this music. Let's see what I can find. Hideous One is here. Hey, brother. Yeah, I did some research on recording equipment today. I'm getting really excited about it. My birthday's coming up really soon, and I'm treating myself to some equipment, basically. And I know I keep obsessing about getting a what do you call it? A tablet. Like I already have a laptop. It's not, to be honest, it's pretty old. I really should just get a new fucking laptop. It's just not in great shape, or whatever. But I don't want to drop that much money. Whereas I can accomplish a lot of the same stuff with just like a decent tablet, you know. Master Kent, hello to Craig the Man. And anyway, I was watching some videos on various types of music recording engineering software. The main thing is just to record my vocals over other people's music. I've got at least 3 guys that want to do music with me. All of them do electronic music. You see where I'm going with this? So, the one I think is going to be more pop, like pop house music, kind of like that kind of shit, and which is just for fun. And to be honest with you, that guy is super highly connected in the industry. So, you know, that's a thing. You can see, like, once we get some good music together, he's going to send it off to the right people, and we're expecting it to go national. So that'd be cool. And then I'd like to do music that's about our stuff, but in the electronic vein. And how is that going to sound, actually? Like, what would that be? Like, I did that one song, today, Someday Is Today. It's not really electronica. The main beat of it has a kind of a synthwave quality to it, but there's some, like, really nice instrumentation on it and whatnot. Actually, Jurius has been wanting to work with me for ages. I might even reach out to him at some point, but I really, like, in 2016, I want to get back into music on a much bigger scale. Like, I've ignored it. Not ignored it. I just haven't had the time. Everything's been freelance work and visual art related. So there's just no kind of way around that. Yeah, so whatever, those things are happening. I just need to come up with, like, a system with the right technology and stuff. So that's in the making. But I was also thinking of getting into, like with you, Hideous One, to do some like drum and bass, some darker shit. You know what I mean? Like some fast wave drum and bass, jungle. That's more angry and kind of, you know, kind of based or whatever. Yeah. So, and it's not like I'm just sort of a one trick pony. Like I've got a lot of different things to say and different kind of emotional dimensions, I guess, if you will. If you will. Craig says, hope you are feeling at least a little better. Oh, yes, sir. The antibiotics have been kicking in. I've got my energy back. You'll hear me coughing and sniffling a little bit here and there, but I definitely feel like I'm on the mend, which is good. So I've had to cancel Kung Fu and shit like that, which sucks, but it just not quite there yet. I think what I'll get back to doing the Kung Fu class on Wednesday. What's funny is Wednesday we do it in the mornings. So I get up, I don't know, what time do I get up? Like 7, and then hit the park at 7:30. And then go for an hour, and then I'm off to work. That's not terribly early. Like when I lived with the Tai Chi teacher, I was getting up more at 5:30, and I was like, oh God, For me anyway, I'm not a morning guy, but it was just kind of the way it was back in the day. Very excited to get back into teaching and all that. Yeah, so it's and I'm not teaching in a traditional way where there's like 10 million forms that you got to learn. It's more about like here is a basic formula that you can plug techniques into, and then from there you can improvise. And then each time we get together, I'll add more techniques to the repertoire, and have him work on getting those like applying them. So it's been interesting. Again, he's a new student, so he still has quite a ways to go in terms of internalizing the moves. When you do a martial art, it's like one of my teachers told me that Kung Fu is time, and I was like, wow, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, it's literally years of time that you put into a thing, and so much of that time ends up kind of giving you like a new body in a sense, where you move in an instinctive way that's different than the way that it's like a new. I'm trying to think of a way to put this. I guess like if you could almost compare it to like the way dancers move, that they have a really really strong sense of how the body operates per se, and they're able to use it like a kind of expressive tool. It's kind of similar to that. I gotta change this music. It's stupid. So hold on here. Be water, my friend. Be water, my friend. Yes, let's get some tunage on here. Nostalgia playlist. Let's see what that's like. I don't know. We'll find out shortly. Be like water. That's a famous Bruce Lee quote right there. When I started Kung Fu, the teacher I had was a Jeet Kune Do teacher, which is Bruce Lee's style. And we we nerded out a lot on Bruce Lee. We would watch Bruce Lee movies. He was a young guy. And would use his books, his manuals, and go through the various techniques and exercises and what have you. But that teacher kind of gave me the idea to teach the way that I teach now, which is essentially teaching through sparring. And like I said, I get it. That's that whole like I want to have a sparring partner, so I'm going to teach you how to spar. Yeah, I'm certain that traditional teachers would be very unhappy with that method. Like that's like, oh, it's blah, 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 blah. That's not how you do it in Orthodox, blah blah blah, and whatever. That's fine. You're welcome to bash me as much as you like. Have at it. But yeah, so a little story. How did I? Why did I even start doing martial arts? Well, because I had I was the It's hard to even hear myself say this, but I was the victim of a home invasion. And of course, it had something to do with a girl. I was in college. Back in college, I was like hippie Donald. I mean, I had like friends that called me Cosmic Don. Oh, he's into Zen. He's Cosmic Don. He lived in Japan, and I was very, very pacifist and very, very naive about the world and life, and nothing like I am now. Anyway, so in the arts, you meet all kinds of weird people, and I met this couple that went to like a different college in the same city as mine, and was at some exhibit, and I met them. They're very kind of eccentric, exotic kind of people. The guy was just this very, very weird, very creepy kind of slimy, weird, creepy guy. That's all I can describe him as. But he had like this status at school, at his college, for being like the great artist. And so like I didn't go to their school, but I could see that everybody thought, oh, this guy is so amazing, and he's so blah 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 blah, whatever. And so as such, he had like a really, really gorgeous girlfriend. She was half Japanese, half Portuguese. Very exotic looking. Really, really, wow. Just stunning, to be honest with you. But she was also part of that weird, dark, sort of gothic kind of art culture, of this like the people that listen to that sort of darker gothic music, and they're just into weird shit like S&M and stuff that's not like it's kind of the underside of the art world in a way. And again, I was naive. I never. I mean, those things are not me, in any way, shape, or form, right? Anyway, so I don't know. I showed them my work, and they were like, "Holy shit, this guy is fucking great!" And so they wanted to be my friend, and I was just hanging out and being young and dumb, and like, "Oh, I'm an artist" or whatever, da da da. And gradually, the girlfriend was kind of coming on to me. Like we'd be over at the apartment, and she'd be trying to play footsie with me under the table, and I'm like, this is a really awkward scenario because like that's your boyfriend right there, and I don't know what's going on here. So whatever, she made a move and she's like, I live with him, but I'm not really his girlfriend. I'm free to do whatever I want, and I want to be with you. I don't want to be with him. So I'm like, okay, you know. And then we started getting it on, and there was one winter night when she came over to my apartment. At the time I lived on like a first floor apartment. Hey Flash, what's going on? Let me just check the chat here. We got a lot of chat here. Just in case some people are confused, Great Kwando is not from Pakistan or India. I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a Chatelet. This is okay. Well, so anyway, and like I hear like a knock on the door at like I don't know, like maybe 1 or 2 a.m. and it's her, and I'm like, oh wow, what's, and like the dude, like the boyfriend or whatever that she lived with, dropped her off, and so I'm like, oh wow, okay, well, come on in, and she was ready to go. So like whatever, I'm not gonna get into the details or whatever, this or that, and we were just sort of on the couch, and I kind of noticed like there was this like figure looked like a kind of a silhouette standing in the window, a dark silhouette. And back in those days, I had friends that would just pop in at different times. I don't know, it's just college life. And I looked up and I'm like, oh, I thought that was just one of my buddies. But then suddenly, like a fist comes flying through the window, and glass is flying across the room, and the girl starts screaming, and she runs into the bathroom. And then I hear this pounding on the door, and I'm in shock. I'm like, holy fuck. I mean, it's winter. The guy just punched through the window, and then he kicks in the door, and then after that he just started like assaulting me. And like I said, I'm like, naive, hippy dippy art student Donald, and I couldn't defend myself. And I'm literally like on the floor getting kicked in the head with like an army boot, like, and then he went after her. He had a knife, and she was screaming, and we called the police, and shit just got super fucking terrible in a really short period of time. And anyway, so whatever, the cops came. I was like totally traumatized. I was extremely traumatized, and it was just a mess. It was a terrible, terrible time. I ended up like staying at a friend's house for a while there because I didn't feel safe, at that apartment. And there's some weirder shit that happened later. She came back to me and she's like, oh, what was it? Like, I found out later down the road that they have like a kink where they do this. They like bring some guy into their relationship, and then like he gets real jealous and attacks them, like the boyfriend and her, and like assaults them, and then she goes back to him, and then they do this like over and over and over. And I found out because a mutual friend of mine, whatever, had that happened to him. And that's when I was like, holy fuck, that's like some really evil, dark shit. But the point I'm getting to is that, this is the experience that made me say, I will never, ever, ever let anybody treat me like that again. I will never allow anyone to hurt me in that way ever, ever again. No fucking way. And so it was a really, really harsh wake-up call to the realities of the world and life and stuff. And so, shortly after that happened, I started looking up martial arts classes in like the various newspapers or whatever. And my college newspaper had a class, this Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee style, something, something. And it was affordable, because a lot of these schools, martial arts schools, are very, very expensive. I'm a college kid. I'm an art student. I don't have a lot of money. And so I just got into that, and I did that for a year. And then by the end of the year, I didn't knock out my teacher, but I did like a spinning back fist on him that like took him down pretty hard. And that's when I was kind of like, you know what, I think I'm ready to move on. And that's when I actually started getting into classical kung fu, like legitimate kung fu. Like I don't mean that Jeet Kune Do isn't legitimate, but like classical, just traditional kung fu. And that's when I joined a system called Hung Gar, which is kind of like a 5 animal Chinese kung fu system. And, it toughened me up a lot. It was a lot of exercise, a lot of forms. There was some sparring. I broke my finger sparring one dude. Um, Whatever, like, I mean, I can't say that I loved it. I really, I was like, I'm going to do this until I find something better, sort of. And that's when I learned about Shaolin Temple in New York City. And it was just kind of right at that time in life when you're like, you finish college and you're ready to move on in your life, and uh, you know, kind of looking for that special thing, that calling or whatever of like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. So I moved to New York City and joined Shaolin Temple, and then that was a whole amazing golden era, like an absolutely golden era. Let me read some chats here. We got just is that long reptile creature based on a meme? So you'll have to ask the author. I don't really know what he has his own. I don't know how to. I have to be careful how we say this. He knows what he means. I don't know what this is, but there's some symbolism. When the book comes out and you can read it, and I can read it again, and like off the top of my head at the moment, I don't remember. I don't quite know, but it's some sort of. I think he calls it the Magapede. I think that's what it's called, Magapede. And so it's just a kind of a creative invention within like his riff or riffs on the meme culture and the sort of political culture and these things. Yeah, so answers will be, or questions will be answered when the book comes out and you buy it. And you can read it yourself. All right. It looks like a demented version of something you'd see in a Dr. Seuss book. Wow. That's that's well done. That's well said. A crazy story. It is a really crazy story. I'm very sorry that you had that happen to you. I mean, it was horrific. It was a dark, dark time for me. Dark time for me. I can remember like cutting my hair and just like reinventing myself after that and being like, I don't want to be a person that lives in a world where these kind of people exist. So in a sense, it kind of helped me to grow up. You know, I know that's a pretty harsh way to grow up, but like, and I never really was attracted to that kind of weirdo arts culture. Like it was just sort of like around me, because like if you're an art student, then you're surrounded by these kind of people. And I hate that. I hate that the arts are somehow default degenerate. You know what I'm saying? Like fuck that. Like I can remember studying art history and learning about I don't know, the Impressionists or somebody, and they were talking about how the critics hated this work and they said it was garbage and blah 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 blah. And then they'd say, okay, now let's look at what won the prize of the Salon in Paris in 1888 or whatever. And it was gorgeous, beautiful painting, just like wow. And but the thing is, it's like there's this kind of communist culture where they'd say, "Oh, it's bourgeois, bourgeois, bourgeois," and they just have to shit on like traditional meritocracy and like traditional European culture, and instead it's like, oh no, all these weirdo Jews are that's what the real history of Western art is. Marc Chagall and Paul Klee and Chaim Soutine and whatever, all the deconstructionists, if you will. I wonder if Katha Kollwitz was Jewish. I bet she was. And then you get these cases where you have like painters like Otto Dix, who was, like the controversies. He was a member of the Nazi Party. It's like, but anyway, yeah. So I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of a little annoying, but I guess I'm a little frenetic tonight. At least I got my energy back, right? First thing that happened is that long demented creature my friend is getting more curious about my sphere, similar spheres, and asking me about different content creators I watch. Well, cool, dude. I mean, in my experience, you just have to give him a slow drip. You gotta because like I don't know how old your friend is or what what's going on, but it's becoming normal to basically hate Israel. That's like normalizing now. Like it's that the whole like 20 something generation shit's just off the charts right now. We could never have imagined it would be like this. So your friend, depending on how old he is, I don't know, is he trying to get with the times or something, or get with the trends? You know what I mean? Does anybody know what's going on with Daily Wire? There's some news I saw today that like they're closing or they're finished or something's wrong with Daily Wire. Does anybody know the story behind that? I would really like to know. I'm gonna have to tighten this up a bit. This is not so good. My friend Craig says he was asking how similar Donald Kent is to No White Guilt and how similar and different you are from the specific sphere. Well, I can speak a lot to that question, sir. I mean, for starters, he can just watch my show, but we're it's funny because we're both on the same team, but we're sort of on different sides of the field, the playing field. Not like opposing each other, but rather just playing different parts of the field. I don't know what else to say. This is a multi-front culture war, and No White Guilt has his own philosophy, methodology for what is right in his view about how to wake up white people to our cause, our crisis, and what are the ways and means in which whites should think and talk and act in context to all of that. And so he's got something called the Go Free Method. And that is, he wrote a book about it, and he describes in that book ways in which whites can talk to other whites to get them to take our own side and to see, that we are becoming minorities in our own lands and white genocide and all blah, 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 all that stuff. So he's, I would say, probably a lot more conservative than I am. One of his rules is that you don't name the Jew, and I do, and that is the, I don't know what to call it, like the break off point or whatever. Now, I've made it clear to him that, hey, I'll never, I'm your buddy. I'm not against you. I'm not, you do you, I'll do me. There was a time where some harsh words were said about me in that camp, and I don't have any hard feelings about that. I don't like. I have a rule about infighting. I don't do infighting. And Jason knows that, and so like I would say we're on good terms. Every once in a blue moon, I'll jump in on his chats, during his show. I'm pretty close friends with his friend Yiz, who has her own show, and I've had a lot of presence in that world. So I have like one foot in the no white guilt community, is what I would say. Yeah, so as such, that's that. Now, me, what am I? I'm an artist, content creator, art educator. I think a huge part of what I am that people don't know or see or respond to anymore is what I've done in relation as an academic, as an art academic. So before the White Art Collective ended, I started this documentary program called Imperium Art, and interviewed like all the top influencers that I could get on that show, saying like, you're a big name influencer in the dissident right. What is your view on the arts? What is its role in the movement? What is its role in our culture and our future? What advice do you have for artists? So that we could claim our identity, our culture, and have it as a kind of a resource for future artists in the movement and academics and people who wish to study the history of the dissident right in this period of history. So, being a certified art teacher with like years and years of experience, I just elected myself to do that, and I made a name for myself through doing that. I became well known among all these influencers and sort of developed a lot of friendships. I developed a lot of respect in the dissident right in that way. I just reached out to Keith Woods actually, because he's looking for a graphic designer, and I got an inside tip on that. So hopefully I will do a little artwork for him. A lot of the work that I've done, how do I say, like it's an interesting relationship because I do freelance work. Like I did graphics for the No White Guilt after party show, and other stuff, and I've illustrated books for people or book covers for people. I've done caricature portraits for people in the dissident right. So I'm kind of like a go-to guy for art, graphic design, illustration. So there's different sides of Donald Kent. I guess that's one aspect of it. I'm hoping to get back into teaching. I can't really speak about that until those plans become real. Right now, there's some discussion I have with a good friend in the sphere, a big influencer, big name influencer, who's got this amazing philosophy and program, and he mentioned like, hey, we should create an art course based on his concepts. And I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like chomping at the bit now to do this. So I'm hoping that I get back into that, into like the education side, if you will. I have a lot to give in that arena, but I got to get paid too. Time is money. So we have to figure out how to monetize it. I can't just, I don't have time and effort for XYZ. So well, that remains to be seen. We'll just kind of let that take its course. And then I think I was more of a personality, a somewhat well-known personality back when the White Art Collective was really cooking. I used to be on a lot of the shows, just guesting on a lot of the shows. I was putting music out more regularly. I co-hosted shows. I was guest star on a bunch of other people's shows outside of the White Art Collective. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being somebody, and having and bringing like a dynamic to conversations and making people laugh and opening up their minds to the arts and what are the arts about. People dig it. I mean, they're really into the arts. It's just that nobody really in our sphere prior to the White Art Collective had any ideas about it or knowledge or expertise on it. So it was just really exciting to be a part of that. What else? My mom passed away. I had some life-saving surgery. I went through a lot of extremely painful traumas in the last couple of years. Just after like the Biden stole office and like things just started falling apart. I really had to take time off. Like I fell off the radar for a while there. And when I came back as just doing what I'm doing now. Just every night that I can, I get on here and I do live streams of me illustrating either my comics or the Alliance for the company that's paying me to do this. So from there, where do we go? When this is over, when I say over, I mean when this is published, I think I'm going to go into sort of another phase where I'm going to be working with the people who finance this to market it as much as possible. I assume I'll be getting on like a lot of shows. We're going to kind of break back into the Comicsgate scene. I imagine that I'm going to be on a lot of shows, doing a lot of marketing. That's kind of how I think that's going to play out. But what I would like to do is get into rebuilding my brand, making new products, like, just simple things like t-shirts, mugs, like that kind of swaggy stuff. Get my Militiaman comic out there on a more regular basis. I just uploaded like 10 or 12 pages to my Substack for subscribers. And then also making music again. So 2026 I'm planning on it being like a big comeback year for me. Now the Alliance in my heart, I believe is probably, or at least very highly likely to go viral, to become a big deal. And if that happens, then most likely I'll be doing more work with the Alliance. So you got to kind of add that into the equation. I'm obviously flexible. I can work I'm gonna stay with the project as long as it's needed. Obviously, I want it to be successful. Naturally, right? But it's just you gotta kind of have plan B. You gotta have your own product basically, and that's Militia Man mainly, Maga Force. And then again, like getting back into music, that's a whole thing. There's a bunch of other things that like other irons in the fire that it's too early to talk about, so I can't really get into that quite yet. I would say that for people who like you guys who actually follow my channel and really like listen to what I say, you're the best people to kind of, how do I put this? To say who I am and what I am and what I contribute to this landscape. While I'm drawing, I'm not just talking bullshit. I'm like giving very heavy analysis of politics. I go deep into spiritual topics. I talk about fringe things like UFOs. I'm I'm my own brand. I'm my own man. I'm no man's shadow. I have my own ideas. I talk about Gnosticism and Buddhism and various things of this nature that people seem to gain a lot of benefit from. They're very interested in. I've had people call on me to like, you really should try to do some sort of spiritual leadership. And I'm like, wow, I don't know how I would do that exactly, but they'll just keep being me. I think that, like a lot of my views are definitely maybe certain people would think they were radical. I don't think that destroying the evil that's destroying my people is radical. To me, that's just called survival. I don't have any intent to hurt anybody, but I also think that justice must be served. I think that whites are basically pussies, and I would like to slap them hard in the face and say, fucking man up and get your shit in fucking gear. Because like it's over. We're like everything's falling apart now. And if you don't face these truths and grow the fuck up now, it's extinction and humiliation. And your children are already living in it. They're too afraid to even have babies. They're too afraid to even have relationships. So like I'm really angry, fucking angry at the white race in the sense of like, stop with your faggot behavior of being nice. Let's keep talking about shit. Let's keep writing articles about shit. No, you gotta fucking revolt now. So that's radical to many people. They're scared of that. They're like, no, it's not safe. I can't do that. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get doxxed. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to hurt anybody. Of course you don't want to. Nobody wants to hurt anybody. Until someone comes up, shoves you against the wall, and puts a knife against your throat. Do you want to hurt anybody now? Well, you want to defend yourself, right? Right? No? You want to write another article? Do you want to like I don't know, you want to post some memes? Should we have another podcast? Will that fix it? No, we're dying. We're dying. We're dying. Okay, the shit we're in hell. Okay, there's a lot of great things going on, things that I celebrate. It's exciting. We're in an amazing place, and I think things are getting worse and better at the same time. It's freaking crazy. But like standing up for yourself, your people, your demographic interests, taking your own side, there is nothing radical about that. It's normal. It's natural. Everybody else does it. Leftist dialectic does not work on me. I mean, it stopped working ages ago, years ago. So, I don't know. I just don't know that everybody's ready to hear those things, though. I have a gentle side. I have a loving, compassionate side. But to me, like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't see as. I don't see a clean cut way out of this. I need. We need to get more intense. And again, I don't want to use the word radical because that's just going to be thrown back against us. It's not radical to want to look after your people's best interests, you know. And my thinking is stuff like, okay, self-segregate, return to the land, you know, create your own communities, or blah 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 blah. Like let's do think tanks. Let's build shit. Let's build an intra economy. Let's start using gold backed dollars. Let's do some fucking thing instead of just complaining about shit, you know. And I sound like I'm complaining now, but it's not the same thing as just being like, oh, you know, another girl got raped in the UK today, or another boy got stabbed in Denmark, or you know, a black guy ran his truck through a parade today, or you know, some policy was written that is going to disenfranchise whites, or going after, and on and on and on and on. Every damn day, it's some fucking new thing, you know. And I don't know. I can't really. We've got to get political in a way that leads to our survival. And I've tried and tried over the years to organize these things, but I've discovered that, like, it seems that white people sabotage themselves. They, as soon as you start, you know, you don't dare be explicit about, you know, like your own interests. I just had a business meeting with a guy that I work with, and he knows who I am and he knows what I do, but he's a very, very normie, hardcore Protestant Christian. And we were friends and on the same page in terms of like America first and this and that and stuff. He's older. I don't know how old he is. He's probably pushing 60 or something. And we got to talking. You know, it's been a while since we spoke, and he's back in town. We had a little coffee, something. And pretty much straight away he started like caging me in, like, you know, Judeo-Christian. America is Judeo-Christian. Judeo-Christian. And I'm like, you're really, really making an effort here, aren't you? You know, you're really, really making an effort to, like, you know, frame the conversation that, like, if you want to work with me in the future, then we have to agree that America is Judeo-Christian, you know. And I brought up Charlie Kirk and this and that, and I said, well, you know, and I typical me, just put my foot in my mouth. I just straight away, I'm like, well, you know, and I rattled off a couple facts that clearly point to Israel being at least implicated in Charlie Kirk's death. And his face like melted off his head. It was really, really, really creepy. You could tell he was looking at me like, you're the enemy. You're my enemy. And I'm like, okay, you're fucked up. You're fucked up. Like, you're basically doing the work of our enemies by going against your own people and enforcing this wackadoo belief that somehow, like, you know, we got to do A, B, C, D, F, G, or whatever. You just have to somehow bow down to Israel because the Bible told you so. Holy shit. You know, like, fuck, you know. And, like, we got problems, you know. We got to fix our people, you know. So, you know, if you want to get back to the question, that's what's different about me and Jason Kuna. You know, like, he gets angry, he swears, he's got, you know, that's fine, man. I respect that, you know, because we are on the same team, you know. But we've got some different ways of doing things. He's, you know, I admire what he's accomplished. He definitely was there, how do I say, he was like a stepping stone for me into the movement years ago, 2016. I discovered him, and I was like, wow, oh, this is freaking awesome. Like this guy calls himself No White Guilt. Holy shit. Like, well, that's awesome. Like just to call yourself that to me was so cool. Like, yeah, fuck white guilt. That's bullshit. Damn, I have no white guilt. I'm going to loud and proud, no white guilt. And he's obviously a highly intelligent guy, and has massive amounts of energy and passion. And so, yeah, and then, I just kind of like sort of got into that community, made friends, did some cool stuff, lots of fun interviews. If you do any research, like if you were to Google Donald Kent and Jason Kun and No White Guilt, you'll probably find the shows that I was on his channel. And they're obviously shows about art, where I talk about like what is the importance of art and culture and how does it relate to our cause. And those were really, really good shows. I'm very proud of those. Every once in a while, I'll pull those up and just listen to them. Like I was in the zone. I was in the zone. And like Jason knows how to pull out the best in his guests. Like he is highly intelligent in terms of the kinds of questions that he asks. It's just really good. Like knowing how to run an interview is a talent in itself. So yeah, those were great memories, great times. As I say, I haven't really followed what he's been up to. I just try to pop in once in a while and just kind of say, hey, I'm still here or whatever. But you could ask around. You could ask other people, like, what's the difference? Maybe ask some of his people, what do you think of Donald Kent? And see what they have to say. Try that out. It's just interesting stuff, like I've been going through a lot of well, just business planning and self-reflection. And one of my dear friends is just kind of encouraging me to just stay true to myself as an artist. Just make your art. Make art. Be that guy. Be yourself. And because I don't really have a really strong desire anymore to be like a content developer. I was before. I really cared about that. I would get my numbers up and networking, and I don't like shill any kind of products or whatever. It was always more about for the movement, for our people. I should read some comments. Similar content creators. I have non-normie friends who send me links to dissident right influencers. Laugh my ass off. That's so funny, dude. That's been happening to me. It's like people that I've red pilled are sending me reels of like stuff that I'm like, like I've known that shit for fucking years, and it just makes you smile. It just gives you like a nice warm feeling in your heart. I know, I'm excited. Yeah, things are going really well for us. I mean, links on Twitter. So yes, hello to Rexus Prime. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to the Daily Wire 2 years. Message withheld. Ooh, what is it? To be fair, or does it say is that she's all the time? So I'll show this. Jason has his point, and he's not the only one who believes this, that we should not quote name the Jews. That makes us look like anti-Semites, and it goes against our cause. That it feeds into the stereotype of whites as being bigots. So that's been a long-standing debate. But I feel like the Overton window has moved. First of all, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm counter-Semitic. Ooh, how about that for a little dialectic switch? And the term anti-Semitic doesn't make any sense because most Jews are Ashkenazi now, especially in like what do you call it, in Israel, so they're not Semites, you know. And then like what are you literally saying? Like Arabs are Semites, so if I'm anti-Semitic, I'm anti-Arab. Wait, like it's just more bullshit communist dialectic to like fuck you up. It's like racism, you know. Is it that the word racism? Anyway, my battery is dying. Why does that always happen in this show but never anywhere else? Hold on, let me see if I can fix this up. So I would agree with Jason. All right, to some extent, I agree with Jason on the like. We don't want to pour gas on the fire that is kind of making us look like bigots or something. You know, falling into that stereotype. But like if we're just saying the truth about Jewish hegemony, Jewish power, and that's all, we're not insulting, we're not using like hateful language, then that there's nothing anti-Semitic about it. There's nothing bigoted about it. It's just merely criticizing this situation, you know, making observations. Because nobody is beyond criticism, you know what I'm saying? And so it's a big debate. It's a big back and forth, you know. As I'm like I was saying, like times have changed so much now, though. You know that now it's like wow. You know, even well, here's something interesting though. So like Nick Fuentes is really like he's been doing some anti-racist rants recently, and he's like, look, guys, like you know, it's not Christian to be bigoted and da 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 and stuff like that. And that's fine. That's totally fine. That's fair enough. You know, I'm not against that. I don't. I think we have a right to be angry. You know, about racial violence and injustice against whites. I don't think being angry about that makes you a racist, right? You know what I'm saying? And I also don't think that noticing biological or cultural patterns of any race that are similar, I don't. That's not racist either. That's just pattern recognition. Racism is I think hatred. To my knowledge, and sometimes you feel hatred. You know, I don't. Sometimes you get, you know, when you've had enough. You've seen enough people getting stabbed and beaten and raped and you know, and people celebrating your extinction and blah 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 blah. You know, what the fuck else am I supposed to feel? Of course, I'm gonna feel hatred. You know, and then to be, oh well, now you're racist because you hate the people that are abusing you. That's massive amounts of psychological abuse, man. That's some serious fucking gaslighting, bro. Like that's as cruel as you can get. That's like MK Ultra shit. You know, like I'm gonna blame the victim. You see where I'm going with this? So that's the problem of racism. It's not that so much that people are actually racist, but that we can't express our agony. We cannot express our pain and injustice without being, you know, demonized for it. And it's wrong. You know, it's wrong, wrong, wrong. Imagine if every time a black person complained about white people that we, you know, demonetized them or debanked them or doxed them or, you know, abused them in some way because they came out and said, you know, white people hurt me in some way or I don't, you know, da, da, da. It's a circle. It's like a never, you know, what is the with what's the saying? If the Buddha said something like, you know, if an eye for an eye, if every man takes another eye, then the whole world will go blind, something like that. So you got to stop the pattern somewhere, but you're not going to stop it by being a goofy little Marxist idiot who doesn't understand like human emotion and nuances and and who like disqualifies whites. Like, you're a non-person, you have no culture, you have privilege, therefore you're supposed to suffer and not complain about it. No, no, and I think that shit's come to an end, or it's coming to an end. People can't take this anymore. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why I'm not like, I wouldn't call myself a racist. I think that's an ugly, ugly term. I always say I'm a race realist, though. You see what I mean? And that's a great term. That's something to be proud of, because it means you're somebody who uses critical thinking. You're somebody who looks at biology, science, statistics, data, and then you draw conclusions that are realistic, that are real. And as such, you can make adult choices. You know what I'm saying? Race realism is the way. And it doesn't have to be, see, because like, who's setting us up to fight with each other, and who benefits from that? That's another question, right? If we could all just calm the fuck down and just have a race realist adult conversation, and be like, okay, what really is the best answer here? What really benefits the most people? And it's going to be segregation, self-segregation. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Freedom of association. You want to be in the cities, you want diversity, have at it. Go for it. That's your life. That's your choice. You can do it. If you don't want it, then go over here, return to the land. And we shouldn't have to pay through the nose to live in like fancy suburbs that, are for rich people only, because, people don't want to live in ghettos and in environments where they're going to, and every time they go out at night, they have to be afraid they're going to get mugged. You know what I'm saying? As a former teacher, I'm a really strong proponent of what do you call it? Vocational schools for blacks. Give them a means to survive. Create a system where it's like school to work rather than school to jail. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, okay, these are, this is how to fix a car. This is how to grow food. This is how to take care of chickens. This is how to, electrician, da 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 da, whatever, anything. And let them learn how to live on their own and be at peace. Let them have families, but I just, this notion of like whites have to be the what's the word, like the nanny of blacks, and give them all these kind of free handouts and horse shit. It's like, that creates racism right there. It has created racism, and it will continue to. So that just cannot continue. That has to stop. So to me, that's called race realism. It's not hate based. If anything, it's compassionate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, what's the real answer for this? If you were a doctor, you would you find out what's wrong with the patient, and then you diagnose the problem, and then you give them the medicine that fits the problem, instead of like, just keep throwing more money at it. Whites are we have to pay back for slavery, and it never ends. That's a horseshit system. And to me, when I say revolution, that's the revolution I want, not blood in the streets. I want to overthrow the system that, that generates that racism. You see what I'm saying? And that would be, frankly, third position. God, nation, God, family, nation, in that order. God, family, nation. God, family, nation. So black community, Hispanic community, white community, God, family, nation. Those are the the central pillars of society. And so, third position has to, all of the policies have to revolve around protecting, helping, sustaining those things for all people. But again, it's that whole like freedom of association thing is got to be put in place, because like whites cannot continue to be the golden cow that everybody sucks off of. It's we're sick. We're very, very sick. You I've been having some car repairs lately and stuff, and like I met this guy who's like an independent dude, and he comes out and helps fix my car. And he's very poor, very, very, very poor, and he's got a kid and this and that, and I'm helping him out, and get his business card out to people, and he's got a really, really good heart. He's got like a golden heart, and he wants to do what's right, but he's living in he's down on his luck. He's got a hard life. So, and then more so than that, I look around, and in my town, I never saw this before, but for the first time the other day, I see a white man standing by a bus stop with a sign asking for money. That's the first time, okay? Now, 5 years ago, we didn't have Muslims here, we didn't have blacks here, we didn't have Puerto Ricans here, and now we've got white guys standing on the corner asking for money. What's going on? Oh, am I racist because I said that? I'm racist because I said that? When you tell me that, you're making me hate you. Can you see that? Can you see that? Or do you not have the IQ to see that? Okay? So let's treat each other with respect and not like throw fuel on the racist fire that anybody could be racist at any moment. Because if we want to get along and we want to be happy and have a true revolution, it's going to be one in which it's not a communist revolution. When I say revolution, I'm not a fucking commie. Communist revolution is hell on earth. They want perpetual revolution. That's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about freeing ourselves from the system that is enslaving everyone, and giving everybody what they need to fucking survive. Just have a normal, happy life, a healthy life. Be able to have kids. Don't be able to eat. Don't be afraid. Get your medicines. Is that radical? Holy shit, I can afford medicine. Oh my God, you're a fucking radical. You radical racist. How dare you ask for affordable medicine? And some people are like, well, you sound like a socialist. So what is third position? It is half, it's half socialism, half nationalism. What does Nazi stand for? It's a Jewish slur for National Socialism. National Socialism, okay? Socialism is to take care of the people, right? That the state exists to take care of the people. So it's not communist socialism, which is government authoritarianism. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if like Jason kind of talks about those kind of talking points or whatever, but like those are my views. I don't claim to know everything or be right all the time. I do my research and I come up with my views. And that's it. And if you have something that you can share and you can say, oh, you know what, consider this, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, wow, that's okay. That just expanded my mind. And I can be like, okay, well, maybe I was wrong about that thing, or maybe I should reconsider something, But like, none of this is hate driven. That's an illusion. See, this is the whole thing. This is what it's all about, is narrative control. When our enemies are telling everybody who we are and what our values are, what our ideology is, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't get to speak for ourselves. Well, that's racism against us, right? It's turning us into some kind of a hated, evil cartoon version of who we are. It steals our humanity away from us. You know. So just I'm not locked into the brain prison, into the mind prison of like, oh, don't call me racist, because that's for fags. It really is. It's just stupid. It's childish. There was a time when like black and white people used to joke about like do racist jokes against each other for fun. I know that sounds kind of wild to some people. I don't know if people even believe that. There used to be, and there still are, like pages on Facebook that are like secret pages. The only rule of the page is that you're not allowed to like report the page. And these pages are called like black people versus white people or white people versus black people. And both white and black people get on these pages and just shred each other like with like the worst racist jokes you could possibly hear. And well, there's definitely some anger in there. There's definitely some pain and anger in these you know in these posts or whatever. But then also some of them are like funny as hell too. And you just it's a kind of like a let the steam off kind of thing, like blow off some steam. I can remember like I discovered that at one point and I joined one of these groups to like see, what's going on. And I was shocked. I was holy shit. Oh my God, look at these people are like going at each other. And me being like the race realist, I have to get in there with my data points, and American Renaissance, the reports show that da 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 da, and 5013 something something, da, da, da. And people weren't really there for that. They weren't trying to like prove anything. They were just like venting and like letting it out on each other. But then there was this one case where there was a black woman in one of these back and forths, and I forget what triggered it, but she mentioned that like something about how her father left her as a child and how that devastated her, and it was heartbreaking. It was so. I mean, I even feel just I get a little choked up just now thinking about it. And like immediately, all of us just stopped with the racist jokes and just jumped right in and just like gave her as much love as we could. We were like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and it's gonna be okay." And and like, you see where I'm going with this is like the humanity wins in the end, and that was so beautiful. It was like very inspiring in its own way. Yeah, there's a lot of channels out there with like intense, like real racist jokes out there. Not just jokes, but like